All right, I've got 7 o'clock. I'm gonna go ahead and call to order this regular monthly meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the Town of White Lake for October 8th. And I would ask, first of all, that you bow your heads for the invocation. Lord, we wish to thank you for giving us the opportunity to gather here this evening to discuss the business of this town. We ask that you guide and direct us as we attempt to do your will and do those things that are in the best interest of the citizens of this town. These things we ask in Christ's name. Amen. The first item is the Pledge of Allegiance. I usually say everybody's welcome to join in, but Bo, Bruce, y'all welcome to join in with us. And ask Commissioner Womble if he would lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. First item that we have on our agenda tonight is the approval of the consent agenda items, which, as you will notice, in item 1A includes the supplemental agenda, which has been handed out to you. Are there any questions in regard to any of the matters contained on the consent agenda in item number 1? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second. Motion second. Any discussion? Not all in favor indicate by saying aye. Any opposed, like sign. All right. Next are the administrative matters in item 2. John, if you would handle the administrative matters under 2A for us, please.
Sure. For the first project update, we have the White Lake Water Management Project update. And this is provided to us monthly by Dr. Diane Lawrenson. I'd remind Bo and the audience and our viewers at home that it is posted every month on the White Lake Watch website, as well as any type of links that you see contained within this report listed on the screen here in the audience. For Dr. Lawrenson's report this month, she starts off with lake levels again to point out the effect that we've seen from tropical systems in our area, but also to point out the high lake level we've seen really over the course of the year this year. On the screen here in the council chambers, the red line indicates 2024. The solid black line, I know there's several different shapes and colors there, but the solid black line indicates 2023, and you can see the drastic difference over the course of a year. And now, of course, we've had a lot of rain, and right below the graph on the screen, you can see the rain totals that we've seen this year and last year. But we've had a 6-year high recorded in 2024, and we did see a dip in that after the event, then saw almost an identical 6-year high recorded again after the latest tropical cyclone 8. So Dr. Lawrenson does point out that the effects of the rainfall have a corresponding and correlating effect to the level of the lake. In her annual lake elevations, she does list the highs and lows for 2019 all the way to 2024. But I want to call your attention to the variation that we've seen in 2024, particularly between July 5th, which represented the low of 63.7 feet, and September 18th, which represented the high of 65.4 feet. That is 20 inches of variation observed this month. Which is significant, and again points out the amount of rain that we've seen at one time. On the second page of her report, Dr. Lawrenson discusses the 9 events that have taken place since 1999 that record at least 18 inches of rain. She takes this information from the North Carolina Climate Office blog, and again, if you're looking at this report on whitelakewatch.com, these are clickable links that go to each one of these particular storms with information. But she also makes note that in the past 26 years, there's 3 additional events that did not quite make this list. So really there's 12 significant events of rainfall that have fell in North Carolina. And you can see Elizabethtown actually is listed in Hurricane Florence as the highest rainfall recorded in North Carolina at 35.93 inches. But she talks about there's no coincidence that these extreme events are becoming more and more common and more intense. And it is very likely that extreme precipitation frequency intensity in North Carolina will increase due to increases in atmospheric water vapor content. So all this is to say that extreme rainfall events do flush pollutants from commercial areas, roads, and streets into White Lake. And she says that more runoff equals more pollutants that are coming from those aforementioned areas. And then she ends her report by stating that lake stewardship includes is a result of stormwater, or can be a result of stormwater mitigation. So I would just add briefly to that report for the lake management that staff is working with the planning board on a stormwater ordinance. We've got a draft in place. There's still several areas of concern in that draft that need to be addressed, particularly stormwater mitigation from existing property owners and how they come into compliance under a stormwater regulation ordinance. So once that works its way through the planning board process, it will be presented to the Board of Commissioners for consideration of adoption.
I thought we kind of jumped ahead of me there on, I was looking at A under agenda adoption. But we were through that. I want to ask you about the water release.
Sure. That was the update for lake management.
Yeah. But I want to go back. I see we had a leak adjustment for some kind of groundwater. We gave water and sewer. And we're starting a new precedence of water on that. I've seen when we allow water, if it's, but not the wastewater. It was, we've had people in the past wants to pay for the clothes being washed, we had a fight rinse, but I see it was the White Lake Campground. And I just want a little clarification on that one. That's kind of new to me.
Yes, sir. I'll be happy to look into that a little bit farther. I'm not familiar with the specific details there. I would agree. In the past, we typically have given a discount or release on untreated wastewater, but I'll have to go back and look and ask for some more clarification to provide an update to you at a later time on that specific release.
Okay. All right. Because like I said, I don't want to start a new precedent here on that. That was it. Sorry.
For our water AIA project update, this is short and sweet this month. Essentially, we are continuing to work on a hydraulic model that is recording and observing pressures in our water system to identify areas of need, identify areas of concern, and future project areas. The important update here for this project is that the project is on track to be presented and completed by summer of 2025. For the tropical storm update, I want to share and expand on some of the information that Dr. Lawrenson gave in her report. I want to just briefly take you through a couple of events that have happened in and around the lake during our last couple of tropical systems. During tropical system 8, the town roughly received 10 inches of rain during that time frame. And as you know, and as I pointed out to you, staff did observe 4 sanitary sewer overflows. 2 of those on White Lake Drive, resulting in a combined 3,000 gallons. 1 of them on Lakeshore Drive, resulting in roughly 500 gallons, and 1 of them on East Carolina Avenue, resulting in roughly 700 gallons during Tropical Cyclone 8. For Hurricane Helene, that was roughly 15 inches of rain that we observed at the wastewater treatment plant. I should note on this one specifically, there was a couple of days that added into that total, because Hurricane Helene itself brought rain, but there were storms on either side of it. So cumulatively during those 3 or 4 days, 15 inches of rain observed. We had 5 sanitary sewer overflows during Hurricane Helene, East Carolina Avenue and Bugos Boulevard, both less than 1,000 gallons observed. White Lake Drive, roughly 2,700 gallons of overflow observed. And then 162 Bradley Street, 1,500 gallons observed. These are important to note, and certainly these are issues that we want to address. During a storm, particularly during a storm with that much rainfall, again, you're talking about 25 inches of rainfall in 2 to 2.5 weeks. we are going to continue to potentially see issues with that amount of rainfall. Our system is not designed for that, and our system is antiquated to the sense that it's not capable of handling that amount of rainfall. Now, that's not uncommon. Most systems are not designed for that amount of rainfall. That is a tremendous amount of rainfall in a short amount of time. But I do want to point out to you that we have done some good work in the past on that system. We've done roughly $5 million, as y'all know, through phase 1 and phase 2 sewer sanitary improvement projects. And both of those projects were aimed specifically at sewer sanitary improvements through inflow and infiltration. And as a result of those projects, I want to point out to you that even with 25 inches of rain in that 2-week period, we observed a max at our max discharge at our wastewater treatment plant of 1.7 million gallons per day during the month of September. Even with that maximum average, our September average collectively was 578,000 gallons per day. So our system is working outside of big rainfall events. Now, having said that, we know we have inflow and infiltration issues that we want to address. We are working, staff is working with engineers to try and come up with some projects geared specifically at continuing to improve our inflow and infiltration. I do hope to bring you some projects in the future for your consideration that would improve that. But again, we're going through the process with engineers on that. I would also point out to you that we've got a $4.5 million application that we just submitted to DEQ last month, at the end of last month, for our phase 3 sewer sanitary improvement project that is primarily lift station repair work as well as I&I inflow and infiltration work. We have submitted a federal appropriation for the same project, and we've also submitted a state appropriation through Bladen County for that project. So I want the board to know, I want the public to know that we are working, staff is working diligently to basically turn every rock that we can in an effort to try and procure money to fix problems, address problems, and continue to be proactive when we get in these situations. But I wanted to point out those events having taken place during the tropical storms. And I would say too, our staff did a phenomenal job responding to these events. As a result of our staff response, we were able to reduce the overflows, what they potentially could have been. Staff was pumping and hauling, quote unquote, pumping and hauling. Staff was working on putting barriers and filtration devices in place so that we limited any impact that would be any type of surface water. But I do want to commend our public works staff of working really all hours of the night and in some cases, multiple days in a row of trying to address this, manage this, and prevent there being even more of a problem.
I appreciate your update on this. Sean, I did ask or request our department head, Kevin, to report to us, and that's why we pay these department heads what we pay them for, not only their leadership, but their knowledge. This board, and questions I like to have, ask him on the side of the road or out by a thing, and some recommendations he may want to come forth. So if next month we can put him on the agenda, I've seen some things I've never seen before. I've been here a long time, and I've seen a lot of water going down some sewer lines that I don't know where it's coming from. I know I hear we've got pump stations out, need an immediate look at this area or that area. I think sometimes it'd be good for us to be hear from the horse's mouth, so we'll all be educated. So when the citizens ask me what's going on, why is my bubbling up, and what's going over here, so and maybe I should just meet with him on one-on-one, but I would like to have a transparency and some conversations for him, especially when it comes to budgeting. And I'm here, we're going to need this and need that, and we're shooting from the hip. So,
yes, sir. And I would just say tonight, Kevin and Dale are both still in Burnsville, with assisting with Western North Carolina, but absolutely we can schedule something like that.
I knew he was out enough, he was back here, but I understand that. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Our last update under project updates would be for the fiscal year of 23-24 audit. And again, just want to share with the board an update on this. That on-site field work for this audit has been completed, and our external auditors, Thompson, Price, Scott, and Adams, are in the process of drafting our financials as we speak. This is pretty significant for a lot of reasons, but we are expecting a formal presentation in November or December from the audit group. But most notably, I want to point out to the board that our audit will be turned in to the LGC prior to the due date of October 31st, 2024. So we promised the board we would make improvements in our reporting. And I think that our finance director, Mary Jo Lennon, and our deputy finance officer, Amber Glisson, deserve a lot of credit for making those necessary changes and quite frankly, doing a very good job of satisfying those reporting guidelines.
Thank you very much, Sean. Thank you.
Yeah, wanted to mention on that too, that Sean and I met with the lady from LGC in regard to this. We had a very good meeting with her. She was very much impressed, I think, by the strides that we had made. We're very complimentary of that. She was delighted with the fact that we have a CPA who is our finance officer in Mary Jo. And she said that she loved to see that in a town. I think I would be surprised if we didn't hear something back from them very soon, taking us off the list, and we're continuing to look to reach that point. And one of the things that we brought to her attention, and you never know until you meet with somebody, we let her know the money that we had placed in a capital account for dealing with the lake on our lake management funds. And she thought that that was part of our unappropriated fund balance, which it is not. It's a separate account. And again, she was very impressed with the amount that we had been able to accumulate in unappropriated fund balance and have a lake management capital account in place. And overall, I thought it was a very positive, very good meeting. She was extremely complimentary to our staff. And I just wanted to let y'all know that, you know, I've sat in on these meetings before, and I just want to tell you, taking nothing away from Sean, but this lady and Mary Jo were talking the same language. They were on the same plane. They were discussing the software we deal with, the problems with it, and again, she made several. She, being the lady from LGC, made several comments about what good shape we were in with comparable to towns our size. And was just very impressed with that. So we're definitely headed in the right direction on that. We did get behind the curve, but we're getting there. Okay, we'll wait, John.
Sure. So the next item on the agenda would be our budget ordinance 2025-09, and this is a general fund, water fund, and wastewater fund budget ordinance in the sum of $2,350. And what this does is account for our phone system implementation that we recently did and our phone upgrade for the entire town hall complex, as well as this accounts for the May and June of 2024 monthly invoice for those phone services. This project was budgeted for in our last year's budget. It was not spent, or the town was not invoiced until this year's fiscal budget. This budget ordinance accounts for those sums and moves the money from last year into this year to account for that invoice. If there are no questions, Mayor, staff would ask that board approve budget ordinance amendment 25-09 as presented.
All right, I would entertain a motion to approve budget ordinance amendment number 2025-09 as presented.
So moved.
Motion second, any discussion? Not all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Item B.
Budget ordinance 25-10 is in the sum of $592, and it addresses our workers' comp audit for fiscal year 23-24. Some years this audits will return money to the town. Some years this audit finds a deficiency and requests money from the town. So as you can see, this year we owe $592 as a result of our workers' comp audit, and this budget ordinance amendment accounts for those funds. If there are no questions, staff would ask that the board approve budget ordinance amendment 2025-10 as presented.
So moved.
Motion second. Any discussion?
Good reg.
Not all in favor indicate by saying aye. All opposed, like sign. Item 4 is other business and previous agenda items. I don't, not on here, but are there any brief matters from any of the commissioners that do not appear on the agenda.
Is there a reason the police report in our packet looks different?
Yes, there was some software restraints. If I recall, we use the county system, as everybody in the county uses the county system. And there was a couple of software restraints this month, so we tried to get something in the agenda packet that would be somewhat informative, but I think Bruce did tell me we were planning on sending the entire report once we were able to obtain it. And we can make that available to the public as well.
Okay, as usual, we have all of our reports that are contained for your review, all the reports that are listed there, and as always, if you have any questions about those when you get your agenda in, if you'll contact Sean, he'll be glad to respond to you. Item B is just want to remind you that we have received a certificate of recognition at the upcoming City Vision Conference, and if you want to participate in any of that, then let us know. We're trying to get 75% board attendance in regard to that. That's October 17th from 1 to 3, and we earn a certificate if we do that. Item C is, Sean doesn't want me to dwell on this, but I will let you know that our county administrator recently completed the municipal and county administration course at the School of Government. Over the course of 8 months, he was able to expand his knowledge in specialized areas of local government functions while joining a broad network of local government peers. We as a town have always supported this continuing education, and I think it pays dividends for our town. And Sean, congratulations on receiving that certification. Item D is a reminder that as we mentioned last month, our Code Red alert and notification system sign up is live, and we were able to send emergency notifications on weather-related alerts at this time. Wanted to point out that for the Veterans Day holiday, the municipal complex will be closed. Is that November 11th?
Yes, sir.
Okay, observance of Veterans Day, so just let you know to be aware of that. And under item F, Commissioner Hawley is inviting the board to participate in the upcoming Lake Cleanup and Great Trail State Day on October the 19th. We'll be getting some further information out for that from the town. That's an important thing for us to participate in. And Terry, we appreciate your work on that and helping head that up as you did last year when we were doing this. And it's a good thing for all of us to be involved in whatever way that you can. All right. At this point, I don't know that we have anything for open forum, but before I get that, I want to mention one other thing to you briefly. Won't take much of your time with it, but this weekend, Town of Elizabethtown is having a big weekend. On Friday night, they've got a pink out at supporting breast cancer awareness, helping raise money for women in this area to receive mammograms, in particular those who are not covered or able to be covered by insurance. And that's a very worthwhile thing. And I would hope that you would be able to participate monetarily and in other ways. All the churches in Bladen County had this past Sunday had a peak out day and are making contributions for this. And I hope you can help participate with that. On Saturday, there's a bike rally in Elizabethtown. They literally have hundreds of people coming into Elizabethtown for the rally, which was due to begin in the western part of the state because of the hurricane. It began in Lexington. They still basically have kind of revamped a little bit, have the same amount of riders, but there's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,000.
850.
850, and that it had dropped some because of the western part of the state, but they were telling us last night at the meeting that that's coming back up. So
They start in Lenore.
do what?
They start in Lenore.
Yeah, in Lenore, that's correct. They weren't able to start in the western. So that's you're right on that. And the town of Elizabethtown is putting bus rides in effect for the folks that are coming and staying. A lot of people are reserving rooms at Melvin's, Grand Regal, other places here at the lake. And Elizabethtown is making them aware of the ability to be able to book things here. There's also on Sunday, there's the Smithfield Cup, what used to be called the Pork and Beets Festival in Elizabethtown has now become the Smithfield Cup. They're bringing in competitive teams for barbecue cooking from North Carolina and South Carolina. And they've got some master cookers who are scheduled for that. And just to let you know, they're making a big effort to try to bring folks from good distances in here to the town of Elizabethtown, the town of White Lake, and our area here to get people that are not from this immediate area to know and recognize the things that we have to offer here at White Lake and Elizabethtown. And I hope y'all can support that in any way that you can. And I hope that it's going to be beneficial for White Lake also. And I will be bringing some additional information to you as the year goes by on how we can help in coordinating with Elizabethtown in regard to those things that also benefit White Lake and vice versa. Because we know that a lot of things that benefit White Lake also inure to the benefit of Elizabethtown. So we've worked together on that, and hopefully that's going to produce good results for both communities. Is anyone here that wishes? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm about to leave out our supplemental agenda. If y'all have that, it's been passed out. If you call that up in front of you. First is our usual Halloween resolution for agenda supplemental number one. No, we don't arrest people who violate our ordinances. We just want people to be safe and look out for the young folks. And that's the reason for our curfew and all. And if somebody is violating that, then what we will do is we'll let them know the ordinance that we have in place. So it's just to keep people safe. At this time, I would entertain a motion that we approve that ordinance as presented.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Not all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition by like sign? All right. And Sean, if you will mention agenda supplemental number 2.
Yes, sir. The second agenda supplemental item is a emergency repair on our our well at the airport. And you'll see a quote in your agenda. You'll also see a brief letter outlining justification for the quote. To summarize, and I would encourage you to read through the justification because it is very informative, but to summarize, our well is no longer in working condition. The well itself originates to roughly 1961. There's been some work over time done, but it is an older well that we have here. So we can expect more and more of this with that type of infrastructure. However, this is sort of the latest and the greatest in terms of well fixes. And we have been assured by the company that they really feel like this is a adequate solution instead of replacing the well or doing something that would be a little more costly. But to summarize, essentially, we'll be putting a new liner in that well and repairing that well to the sum of $23,000. That will bring it back in operation, and that's one of 3 wells that the town has. So it is critically important that we repair that. There are no questions. Staff would ask that the board approve this quote as presented.
All right, I'd entertain a motion that we approve the action listed in agenda supplemental number 2.
So moved.
Motion second.
Second.
Any discussion? Not all in favor indicate by saying aye. All opposed, like sign. Sean, if you'll handle, number 3, there's no action required on it, but if you'll,
Yes, sir. For number 3, you'll see an update from North Carolina Wildlife. It's an email that I put in your agenda packet. I received it this week. And it was an update from Miss Betsy Haywood to let the folks at White Lake know that the temporary rule, Rule 15A, NCAC 10F.0304, that required motorboats to travel perpendicular instead of parallel to the shoreline and at no wake speed in the restricted area of White Lake was adopted by the Wildlife Resources Commission on October 3rd. This message is letting the Board of Commissioners as well as the public know that they are proposing a permanent rule to the same effect to replace the temporary rule that was adopted on October 3rd. And as a result, a new public comment period for the permanent rule is open until December 2nd of 2024. There is another virtual public hearing that will be held on November 14th, 2024 at 6 p.m. and that does require pre-registration. So again, if there's any questions, I'll be more than happy to help answer those. And if there's any problems with registering for the public hearing, please let me know and I can try and get that solved for you as well.
Betsy also gave me the name of someone who has done this process more than her, and if we have questions, you can ask her. I'll forward this to you.
all right, anything else? Not, we have anyone who wishes to speak at the open forum? If not, then that concludes our business for tonight, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion second. All in favor? Unanimous.